Hello, unforgettable vocalists. It's me, O'Neil Gerald Donald, and you are listening to the Reclaim Your Voice podcast, where we get to set the stage for your voice to be at its best potential. What we're doing is we're getting into the ins and outs of what it means to be not just a singer, but an unforgettable vocalist. Here at the Reclaim Your Voice podcast, we help you to take your singing from unsure to unforgettable. We give you the tools that you need to stop losing your voice, break your bad singing habits, and find your unique sound, because you know you want to sound unique, you know you want to sound unforgettable, and so I'm here to help. It's really cool because this is episode 8? This is episode 8, and I've just been really enjoying the opportunity to really again broaden the conversation of what it means to reclaim your voice. And now for those of you that are watching on YouTube, this podcast is now going to be a normal part of my channel. So welcome to everybody that's from the channel that's watching. It's really great because I really feel like there's a lot of things that have needed to be said about what it means to sing and what it means to own your voice and to have that own personal autonomy. And I love being the one that has that conversation. And so if you resonate with this, I encourage you to subscribe to this channel, subscribe to the podcast, like the podcast, give it a 5-star rating, just all the things, let's just have and some enjoyment. But as you can see in the title, we're going to be talking about something that I'm very passionate about. And I'm really glad because we've now, or at least I feel like I finally found the language to really start to say exactly what this all means and exactly what this is. So the statement that I'll be talking about today is that vocal fame does not equal vocal significance. I'll say it a few more times. Vocal fame does not equal vocal significance. One more time. Vocal fame does not equal vocal significance. And I think that the statement already kind of maybe is allowing your head to turn about things, people that you know that are vocally famous, but are not necessarily vocally significant. And depending on what your singing approach is, the statement can mean a lot of things. But what I'm going to do is I'm just going to kind of break it down, define it a little bit, and then get into some points about it and about the difference between vocal fame and vocal significance. Because there are a lot of people that are, and this is probably the main point that I want to make, that there are a lot of people that are chasing vocal fame that actually want vocal significance, and a lot of people are actually receiving fame or vocal fame and they're mistaking it for vocal significance. There are also people that are getting vocal fame and are stopping because the fame tastes so good, and so they don't go on towards significance. And so I just kind of want to, like always on this podcast, I'm just here to really draw some lines in the sand, allow you to understand the difference between what it means to have an approach to singing that is significant, rather than a voice or an approach to singing that is just gonna make you famous. So let's talk a little bit about what vocal fame is. And really the definition I have for it is just basically someone that is famous for singing, someone that is famous just simply for using their voice in any and every which way that they use it. I don't want to get into my points yet, but in order to be vocally famous, you don't necessarily need to be a great singer. Especially in this age of technology, it requires very little for someone to actually become vocally famous. Or rather, it requires less and less singing skill in order to actually become vocally famous, which is really sad, but it's why I'm here. So basically, vocal fame is just simply being famous for one's voice, meaning that people recognize your voice. People, when it comes to, people being emotionally attached to your voice, that's another part as well, that we mistake for actually having impact vocally, but we'll talk a little bit about that later. But just essentially, you've gotten more famous because you sing, and not because you sing well, and not because you sing in a way that's impactful. it's a very fine line that we're drawing. Whereas vocal significance is what I've defined as singing in a way that outlasts the rises and the falls of vocal fame. Someone who sings in a way that creates vocal significance is an unforgettable vocalist, right? So we're expanding the definitions here. And I think that really kind of just explains it for itself. When someone is significant vocally, their vocal significance outlasts the rises and the falls of fame, meaning that when vocal fame goes away, or when you are when people aren't necessarily looking at your voice as much, and you go whether it's you're out of the limelight, you don't necessarily have a project out or something like that, your impact is something that stays. And especially, and this is something that stands the test of time after the 10-20 year mark. It's about people who have catalogs that are remembered for decades and decades and decades, simply because they were significant and not just because they were famous. Fame comes and goes, but significance is for not just a lifetime, but multiple lifetimes, for generations. Even vocal fame can last for a lifetime, but significance will go on for generations, which is absolutely amazing. So I have 3 points here that I want to talk about, just about the difference between being vocally famous and having vocal significance. So first point, vocal fame can happen at random, whereas someone who sing, or like an unforgettable vocalist, or someone who has vocal significance, is never they're never a random instance, and vocal significance can only happen out of true purpose. So I'll say that again, just because I wrote a little bit weird here. But vocal fame can happen at random, whereas vocal significance can only happen out of true purpose, and it is never a random instance. When you look at what it takes to be famous, especially nowadays, if you are on TikTok and you are posting every day, at some point, there might be a video that pops off. I know this because I make videos, right? I don't necessarily make videos on TikTok, but I have had a few YouTube videos that have gone viral, that may not necessarily have 1 million views, but have a few 100,000, and that's a lot of people, and there's a lot of views, right? But I know from personal experience that even when you're putting in the work, fame there's a saying that goes, success is like the mix of preparation and the right opportunity. And so the preparation part, depending on who you are, depending on who you are, you'll have different levels of preparedness. But fame has a way of, if it's the right opportunity, or if the quote unquote stars align, or if there is an algorithmic phenomenon that happens, your video gets pushed out, or your content, your music gets pushed out into the front, which is pretty cool. I'm not dogging fame. Like, it's pretty cool to be famous and people know who you are, etc., and so forth. But people that are vocally significant, right? Their fame, or rather their significance, is not a random instance. So the same way that there's preparation with the right opportunity that creates fame, right, or creates a level of success, being vocally significant is not something that can happen by accident. It's not something that can happen at random. It's birthed out of true purpose. And no matter who hears somebody that is vocally significant, the impact will be the same. Whereas when someone is vocally famous, when they're famous, the general public is worshiping that one person and giving them a whole bunch of flowers, etc., and so forth. But when the limelight is gone, the person loses their impact. And maybe that's another, tidbit here, that a vocally famous person is only impactful when they're famous, whereas a vocally significant person is impactful to whoever hears them, right? Vocal fame has a lot to do with even what's in trend. And I hope I'm not jumping up to another point. But what it means to be vocally famous is, it also has to do with what trend is really popular. So like even when it comes to different styles of music, there are different people who sing different styles of music that get into the limelight, not because they were amazing, but because that style of music was, famous. Like if you look at a whole bunch of people, and like if you look at dubstep, if you look at EDM, right, there are so many different points in pop music where there was a certain genre that came to the front, and with that genre coming to the front, those artists came to the front. Even like when it comes to hip hop, and now the trap like trap hip hop, it's still hip hop, but it's an evolution of hip hop. Like I'm talking about old school hip hop, like when it was coming up, in the late 80s, early 90s, the late 80s and 90s, going into the 2000s, there were hip hop artists that were on the charts and that were famous, but when they were out of when hip hop wasn't as popular, they came out of the spotlight, which is normal, right? And it happens for people that are vocally famous. But when it comes to actually singing in a way that's vocally significant, it doesn't rise and fall with fame. Right? Now, that was my first point. Vocal fame can happen at random, whereas being vocally significant can only happen out of true purpose. And here's my second point. Vocal fame drains singers of their relevance until there is nothing left. Whereas vocal significance is a fountain of relevance that remains after vocal fame has come and gone. Jeez, I'm preaching. Like, I seriously, I write these things and then I read them and I'm like, oh my gosh. So let me read this one again. Vocal fame drains singers of their relevance until there's nothing left, whereas vocal significance is a fountain of relevance that remains after vocal fame has come and gone. So we're talking about the difference between someone who is being zapped of their energy, whether someone that is being zapped of their energy, and compared to someone that actually is self-energized. So it's like, there are for a singer that rides on vocal fame, the fame has a way of draining you of your relevance until there's nothing left. So just like I was talking about in terms of different genres that have come to the forefront and back, people that ride on vocal fame, ride on the fact that that trend is what's relevant right now. And so what they do is they continue to tour, they continue to create music back to back, and even now people make albums a lot more back to back, but that's another conversation. But what they do is they go according to the demand of the vocal fame. And what they don't realize often, especially when they're not trained vocally and they're not using they don't have an understanding of what their voice can do and how to use their voice healthily, they end up getting drained of their relevance, and they get drained of their emotions. They get drained of their voice often, in many different cases. That's why you hear so many different vocal surgeries, etc., so forth, that are happening, because these people are marching to the beat of fame. And when the fame says go faster, they go faster. When the fame says go slower, they go slower. It's like they become a slave to the rhythm of vocal fame. Whereas someone that is vocally significant, like Beyonce said on her infamous song Beyonce, radio says speed it up, I just go slower, right? Vocal significance has a level of self-autonomy, a level of autonomy that says I don't need to run at the pace of what everyone else is doing, because I have my own lane, and in having my own lane, I'm able to determine my own success. Right? And because there is an entirely different success system that's on the inside of someone who's vocally significant, they don't have to run at that speed, because vocal fame has its own criteria and its own and I'm giving so many tidbits in the middle of these, so I hope you guys are listening to these. But vocal fame has so many different points of criteria for who can be vocally famous, whereas vocal significance is determined by the singer and not by the industry, right? Two totally different things. Right? And because of that, someone who's vocally significant doesn't have to run at that pace. And so they can actually, do what they want to do, make the music that they want to make, right? And the people fled to them, not because they're following a trend, but because they are significant and because they're doing something that actually has a level of impact, right? This is, oh my gosh. Woo! We're preaching on today, and I like that. So, that's where we're at right now. So my third point. So the first point was that vocal fame can happen at random, whereas vocal significance can only happen out of true purpose. That's not to say that vocal fame is only random. There's preparation plus opportunity, right? So there's preparation that's happening as well. But that opportunity factor is random, just saying. But whereas being vocally significant, that's not something that's random. It's something that not only, and that's the thing, a lot of people would think that vocal significance just comes out of hard work. And it's not true. It's not true. Because there's a lot of people that are vocally famous that work hard, right? They rise up early, they go to bed late, right? And in fact, a lot of people that are vocally famous do more work than the people that are vocally significant, right? So this isn't a measure of hard work. This isn't a matter of, and this is not me telling you, oh, right, so go and do your vocal exercises and get better at being a singer because that's when you're going to be vocally significant. This is something that's far deeper than hard work. Right? Our society has made hard work the measure of significance and the measure of success, when in reality, if you're working hard at the wrong thing, you're actually working yourself into the ground. Right? That's even in and of itself a completely different podcast. But this is not to say you're supposed to go and you're supposed to, find the next YouTube vocal coach to help you, etc. and so forth. This is not simply about technique. And it's not, because vocal fame and vocal technique is not the measure of vocal fame or vocal significance. Vocal significance and vocal fame operate on something that is tied to vocal technique, but it's something that supersedes and is far greater than just technique. Right? So, and thus it's greater than hard work, right? So this is not me telling you to go and simply get better at singing. It's a lot deeper than that. And I think these points are helping to illustrate that. Which brings me to my third point. Vocal fame is focused on individual success, whereas an unforgettable vocalist is, and someone who is vocally significant is focused on a cause and a message that is greater than just them. And this is where the fountain of relevance comes from. And I see this all the time, not just in singing, but I see it all the time, where there are people that create shrines to themselves. And because they operate on fame, what they do is and we see this on Instagram. We see this on different levels of fame, whether you have 1 million subscribers or you have 1,000 or you have 100 subscribers. Society has taught us to build our own shrines of significance and of relevance, however we know it, and expect people to come to our shrine and to come worship us, right? Whereas vocal significance is not about building your own shrine. It's about looking at the needs of the world and allowing your original sound to serve a need, right? So it's complete, the focus is completely different. It's not about what can I get for myself, but someone who's vocally significant goes into a moment of singing and they seek to serve their audience. So it means when someone is vocally significant, let's go there. When someone is vocally significant, when they arrive to somewhere that is different than their genre, that what they'll do is they'll actually serve the audience that is there. They won't necessarily be unoriginal, but say you're a country singer, or a country singer that's going to a gospel show. You'll change a little bit of your not even, sometimes even your repertoire, but you'll change the moment to serve the audience. If a gospel person is going to a jazz club, right, they're not just like, hopefully if they have a level of significance, and also if they have the tools to be able to know the different, to know what the genre requires, they'll flip their approach to serve the audience. Now that's just one example, but someone who is an unforgettable vocalist, someone who has vocal significance, is not they're not here for themselves. They're here for a cause and a message that's greater. And when it comes to singing, even in your own genre, and singing your own music, etc., so forth, there is the thing that drives you to make music is not becoming the next Beyonce, or not becoming the next whoever's famous right now, Ariana Grande, whatever. You're not bent on that. You're bent on purpose, and you're bent on a message. And so with this conversation, I hope that what we have done is we've separated in yourself the desire for vocal fame and the desire for vocal significance. And I'm going to be honest, I'm not here to help you become vocally famous, because I don't run the industry in that way, where I can give you opportunities that will immediately make you memorable for 10 years and memorable for 20 years. In fact, probably no one has that power. There are people who have measures of that type of power, but they can't promise that to you, right? But what I can tell you is that, in booking a call with me and actually having a conversation about where you are vocally, what's making you vocally tick, what's actually the mindset that's keeping you from vocal significance, I can tell you that we can actually get you on the journey to vocal significance. There are so many people that I've now worked with that are now very thankful, because they're not just working to be famous, but they're working to actually be to actually sing in a way that serves and do music in a way that serves the people around them and serves the people that hear them, right? So if that's something that moves you, if it's something that turns your wheels, I encourage you to book a call with me at reclaimyourvoice.ca/call, and let's have a conversation about what vocal significance means to you. But not just that, but let's see what's not working with you vocally, what's not working in your technique, and what's not working in your mindset, so that we can actually get you on the road and the path to vocal significance. And I think that's something that's important to say. Vocal significance is never about arriving at a particular place, but it's about continually progressing in your service, continually serving more and more and more people with the message that's been given to you, right? So again, this is more than just about fame. This is about actually changing people's lives with the power of music and with the power of an unforgettable vocalist that's aware of their voice, aware of what it can do, and is aware of how to use it to share their message. And so I want to invite you into this process. So book a call with me at reclaimyourvoice.ca/call. And also, I just loved being able to talk to you this week on the Reclaim Your Voice podcast. I encourage you to stick around, subscribe to this YouTube channel, subscribe to this podcast on Spotify, Apple Podcasts, wherever you're listening to this. Give it a 5-star rating, and I will talk to you on another day, okay? Bye, everyone, and let's reclaim your voice. Reclaiming my voice. See ya.